Hi, good evening. Market is very much dependent on oil prices these days, right? Because oil is elevated, trading hovering around $100, which is an area of pain for emerging economies like India. The fate of the market is dependent on the outcome of the war. That is very much clear to all of us. Uh, Main motive is not who is winning. Main motive uh, is the de-escalation of the war. So oil is looking for de-escalation of war for good. That is the scenario. In this video, I shall make a scenario analysis, which are possible outcomes of the war, and for accordingly, what would be the possible impact on the war. But before that, I just want to mention what is the current scenario at this time. So, as I said, like market is very much dependent on the oil prices. So the current scenario is not at all favorable, although there is a schism between Iran and US. We know that the talk, the peace talk failed, which was mediated by Pakistan just a couple of days back. But still, the possibilities of further discussion, talks for further renegotiation are very much in place, very much possible. So uh, still like some continuation of the ceasefire is likely is possible at this. But the party is raising eyebrow. Two factors are raising eyebrow at this time. US has uh, said about a blockade at the Strait of Hormuz. So far, before this, like just even a couple of days back, US was asking Iran to set Strait of Hormuz free. Iran was continuously pounding vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and US was trying to defend those uh, missiles, trying to defend Iran's missiles, and uh, was trying to uh, keep the Strait of Hormuz open and smooth transit, was trying to ensure smooth transit of vessels through Strait of Hormuz. But now scenario has completely changed, and suddenly US has said about the blockade of Strait of Hormuz. How? That is, all of us know that Iran is asking for uh, attacks in dollar or in cryptos. So Iran, for safe transit, Iran is asking for tax, and US is saying who will uh, pay tax to Iran will face blockade from US. So finally, what happens that passage through Strait of Hormuz becomes difficult, even more difficult. We have seen a few Indian flagged vessels managed to pass through Strait of Hormuz due to Indian diplomacy with Iran. But this time, with this scenario, it would be even difficult for India to pass through Strait of Hormuz as like uh, keeping both of them happy, or at least one at neutral and another one happy will vary, will not be possible, Ralph, because interest is contradictory, straightway contradictory on Strait of Hormuz. So it will not be possible to transit anymore for countries like India. But in the meanwhile, there is a development today that Chinese oil tanker has passed through Strait of Hormuz, throwing a challenge to the US. So if US would dare to hit the Chinese vessel, Chinese oil tanker, it would have a very big, bad conflict. And any direct uh, involvement of China in the war with Iran would not augur well for the US. That is what US also understands, because Iran alone has fought a very strong battle, have fought a very brave battle, I would say. But okay, I'm coming to that point later. So naturally, it was not at all good the way US has lost their infrastructure in the Middle East. So this is not a good. This would not be a very pleasure moment for US if China directly gets involved in it. Second, the problem is a new development, that is uh, how these are getting active. They are saying uh, how these are probably going to um, uh, like put restrictions on Red Sea, means where which also claims 10-11% of global oil transit. So that is the another one route, northern route, instead of Strait of Hormuz. Uh, I would not say instead of Strait of Hormuz, but that is one another route through which lots of uh, oil tankers, not only oil tankers, but many other goods also transit through that particular route. So along with Strait of Hormuz, if Red Sea also uh, get that sort of restriction, gets that sort of blockade, then it would be very difficult for global oil prices. And the oil price, $150 is not far away at this time. Like if the Red Sea is practically uh, blocked blocked by Houthis. Now, this development has come as an retaliatory action against the US blockade on Strait of Hormuz. So altogether, things are messing up, and probably $150 is not far. Now, let's come to scenario analysis, which is the main motive of this particular video. Uh, what could be the outcome, and what could be the scenario, what could be the outcome at various scenarios? Two scenarios I'm considering at this juncture. That is, one is, uh, let's say, war re uh, starts. If the war would restart, then what will happen? US would continue its aerial strike on Iran. Iran uh, retaliates by targeting oil infrastructure, refineries, and strategic Middle East assets. So it would be, the part two would be the uh, motion replay of part one. So it will be as same as part one. So very important. I'm not considering any ground invasion is in this scenario one. So let's say conflict would drag for another 1 to 3 months, increasing political and economic pressure in the US, putting pressure on Donald Trump, and eventually force de-escalation or exit by the US. So the more it would take exit of US, the more would be oil prices. In that case, it can go $150, $170. Rather, I would say it can go $150. I would not say $170. In case the current scenario of Red Sea blockade will not happen. But if Red Sea blockade happens and afterwards US starts bombing Iran, and the war continues for another 3 months, then 170, $175 is seems to be achievable. This is my opinion, absolutely my opinion. Uh, so this is scenario one. So uh, in case the way I said, like $170, 150 to 170, $175, in that case, it will be a enormous pressure on oil importing nations like India and markets sustain any like sustainability of the market will be again on threat and possibility of further fall in it. Uh, so unless and until US exits the war, it will be very difficult. Although US cannot win this war, that is very sure. Uh, without if US exits without any decisive victory, it would be a moral defeat for the US for Donald Trump. Although, like uh, uh, to keep the face, they obviously US have to, or let's say US will have to uh, declare that we are victors. We have won the war. This is our victory. So, anyways, uh, like this exit, US exit would give short-term relief, but damage is already done. Now, what happens in case of the second scenario? What is second scenario? Second scenario is ground invasion. Because Donald Trump knows, the whole world knows, we only pounding Iran from the top, from the aerial route, will not help to change the regime, will not help to conquer the country. So ground invasion is required. And here is the dance. Uh, If US launches ground invasion in the ground reality will not be at all favorable. Difficult terrain because it's full of mountains and it's a vast geography. Guerrilla warfare by Iran because no one knows like where on which tranche, which cave Iranian soldiers are hiding and waiting for US soldiers. And along with that, hidden missile systems, mines, and layered defense systems. Because over the years, Iran has developed lots of small distance uh, uh, missile systems uh, for, for fighting this war. So it's a long awaited war for Iran, and Iran is totally prepared, so it will not augur well for this. Iran has significant troops and strength as well. That is another one very important aspect. So, what would be the outcome in that case? High risk of US military and strategic failure. It could be a direct loss, direct, uh, I would say, defeat of US. In that case, again, oil could surge $150, $170. Why? Because uh, yes, it would not be uh, like the more, the longer the war would be, the higher the oil prices. So it would be a severe supply shock and global financial collapse. So end result will be heavy economic loss for the US. Uh, Dollar would not मतलब dollar devaluation, sharp devaluation of dollar also will happen in case of scenario two, and potential confidence crisis in USA. So altogether, it will be a moral defeat. It will be a ground level defeat and also a moral defeat for the US. Now, some if we consider some other escalation triggers, like if China directly or indirectly gets involved. Russia strategic support continues. It is there, it will continue. But if China, specifically China, gets involved directly, then conflict becomes multi-power confrontation. US position will become weak in that case, and war duration will extend. And NATO has already refused to help US in this particular war. They have said it's your war, not ours. So that will not be a very favorable scenario the for the US. And uh, post-war, what will happen? Obviously, the Middle East, uh, geopolitical dynamics in the Middle East, the power, uh, there will be shift in the power because a few countries will uh, very swiftly and suddenly switch towards the winning side, or people who or the countries who will have the muscle power. So obviously, uh, countries like Oman, Qatar will uh, gets aligned with Iran, but UAE and Saudi will uh, incline towards Israel. So uh, there will be I would say, shift in power, and there will be one east side dominated and one west side dominated power. Two different power points will emerge from this. So one would be Iran, another one would be Israel. So Iran and Israel will coexist, and uh, Oman and Qatar will start getting aligned with Iran, and we and Saudi will get aligned with Israel, and these two, uh, and in that way, the shift of power will take place, and Iran and Israel will coexist. That would be the scenario, what I understand or what I have studied. So, obviously, with this, let me come to the bottom line. So finally, what will happen? So whatever the scenario is, whether it's scenario one or scenario two, it's bullish for oil, bearish for equities, especially emerging markets, and we have to closely watch Strait of Hormuz developments in the Strait of Hormuz. US policy shift, very important, and China's involvement. These three factors we need to keep a close eye. Uh, so considering uh, okay, so this is not just a war story. This is about your investment, inflation, and the global economy. Stay alert, watch oil, and watch geopolitics. And if you want more deep real world analysis like this, make sure to subscribe. Thank you.